Good morning, it's Deborah here, and today I want to make a little video about habits. As you know, if you've been following me for the last couple of days, I have committed to a new habit. That new habit is that I've committed to making a video 100 days in a row. And I'll be posting them live when I can, and there are some times where I'm actually not, I don't have access to internet, and when that happens, then I'll just make a video using the video recording and I'll post it later. But I want to talk about habits today because this is something that I hear a question about from a lot of people that I work with. And that is, how long does it take to break a habit? Or how long does it take to make a new habit? And there is a ton of neuroscience research out about this. So I just want to ask a couple of questions to help us consider what actually is a habit in the first place. A habit it's really a learned behavior. It's a learned response. We're in whatever situation we are, and we take X action, and that gets us a certain response. It gets us approval or disapproval. It creates pain or it creates pleasure. And Lucretius wrote about this thousands of years ago, and it is still true today. This is what our motivation is. Does it create pain or does it create pleasure? So the question about making a habit or breaking a habit, you have to ask yourself first, does this thing that I consistently do, that I habitually do, that I regularly do, does it create pain for me or does it create pleasure? And ultimately, we've all learned to adapt to pain and pleasure. So ask yourself, when you're thinking about wanting to create a new habit or break an old habit, what's the value in the habit, right? Because there is some reason that you continue to do the thing that you do because it creates pleasure for you, and it creates more pleasure for you than the pain of not doing that thing. So now I'm going to dive a little bit into what people say, how long does it take to make or break a habit? So one of my teachers is Yogi Bhajan, who brought Kundalini Yoga to the West. And what Yogi Bhajan taught was that it takes us 40 days to change a habit. It takes 90 days to confirm that new habit. And it takes 120 days for that new habit to really be you, for you to become that new habit. And I want to give you a little bit of the neuroscience behind why this could be. And that is that we now know that the neurons that fire together wire together. And what that means is that, so a neuron is a nerve cell, and it releases an electrical impulse, and it talks to the next one and the next one and the next one. So when the neurons talk to each other, they actually get closer and closer and closer together. So the more you think a thought, the more those neurons actually get closer and closer together until it becomes like a superhighway, like an LA 12-lane superhighway, and it just happens like this. You don't have to think about it. It becomes automatic. In the brain, we call that automaticity. And whatever you put your attention to grows. Whatever you water grows. So it's said that we think a subconscious thought 30, 40, 50,000 times a day. It's subconscious because it's under the radar. We're not aware of it. And it's this automatic thing that happens, right? And some of those things are like, if I speak up, people won't like me. Or if I wear a certain kind of clothing, people will make fun of me. Or if I mean, fill in the blank. If I do or think or feel or say X, people will or won't like me, approve of me, acknowledge me, etc. And we've all learned to adapt in a particular way so that we are accepted by our tribe of origin. So those subconscious thoughts running under the radar, like, I'm not allowed to speak up, or I'm not allowed to make a lot of money, or it has to be really, 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 really hard, because that's what we learned in our family of origin or in our culture, was that you're going to have to work really, really, really hard. So it's not okay if it's easy, right? Because that goes against what you've learned. And what you've learned feels familiar and it feels comfortable because that's the approved way of being in the world. You're supposed to hate your job. You're supposed to work really, really, really hard. And you're supposed to, like the weekend. And I call BS on that. And there are many, many other entrepreneurs who are in the same boat as me who love their work. And it just feels like play because they're in their element. They're doing what they love. and they're being paid for it, and they've recreated different neural patterns that create a different effect in the body. So now let's get back to the question, how long does it take to change that habit? So I already told you what Yogi Bhajan says, $40 days to start making a new habit, 90 days to make that new habit be confirmed in your brain, and then 120 days to make that habit really be you, which means it's really automatic. But there are a lot of questions that you can ask about that, and there are some other beliefs around this from other neuroscientists. So I asked John Assaraf this question the other day, how long does it take to change a habit or to make a new habit? And I loved what his answer was, because what he said is this: it depends on what the stimulus is to make you change your habit. So let's say you're walking and texting and you're not paying attention and you get hit by a bus. Well, bam, like that's feedback immediately that's super painful, that's going to make you change your habit. And it's going to happen immediately. Whereas it might be something like, oh, I want to lose weight. And that might be something that you have to attend to day after day after day after day, because you're pretty happy at the weight you are, you're not that uncomfortable, you're not that unhealthy, and down the road there might be health consequences for you, but in the moment you're not so uncomfortable. So it really depends on how motivated you are to change your habit, number one. That's so how motivated are you to change your habit? Number two, in order to create a new habit, you've got to both break the old habit and you've got to put a new one in its place. Right? Because habits are just learned behavior. They're basically energy loops. So if you're going to cut off one behavior, you've got to put another one in its place. I'll give you an example. This does not pertain to me because I've never smoked, but there's research out there that shows that it's easier for people to quit smoking if they replace the habit of smoking with another habit, like chewing nicotine gum or having those vape things, whatever they are. It looks like a fake cigarette, electronic cigarette. It's easier to replace the habit of smoking with another oral habit than it is to just go cold turkey. So it's easier for you to break a habit if you create another habit in its place. Just like if you're, pulling weeds out of your garden, it's going to be easier for the weeds to not grow back if you plant something else in its place, because then something else will use the nutrients of the soil and it will actually crowd out the weed. And the same is true with your neural pathways. If you can create a new neural path, a new story that empowers you, that creates confidence or freedom or joy or ease or whatever it is that your value is, those are some of mine, those will replace some of the older stories of I can't, I'm not confident enough, I don't believe in myself, I don't trust myself, other people won't like me. And a lot of people have those stories running. So those are two things that you can consider. How badly do I want to break this habit and create a new one? And number two, what am I going to replace it with? And then the third thing is, what is the third thing I wanted to say? What is your commitment to it? So commitment is huge. If you say, well, I want to start meditating every day, but you never do it, you're not very committed to it, and it's not going to become a regular habit. If you have the commitment and the discipline and the desire, you love it so much, there's no way anything is going to get in the way of it. And for me, I love meditation so much that it's the first thing I do every single day, and nothing gets in the way of it. Not because I'm making myself do it, right? There's no pain in it, but because the pleasure is so great for me. So set yourself up for success by choosing something that you really love, choosing a new story that feels good for you, choosing a meditation that feels good for you, choosing to replace something that doesn't feel good to you with something that does feel good for you, and then you will have the motivation and you will have the strategy and you'll have the commitment. And if you're curious about meditation, you want to dive more into it, I would love to help you with that. So you can PM me or Facebook me or whatever. My meditation practice is one of my most beloved practices in the world. Out of all of the places I could travel, where I go on meditation is like, I don't even have words for it. It's just such an ecstatic journey to take every single day. So if you're at all curious about that, if you'd like some help with breaking old habits and creating new ones that create ease and abundance and success and prosperity, I would love to help you. I'm Deborah Fryer. Thank you so much for watching. Have an awesome day. And I'll see you here tomorrow because I've committed to doing this every day for 100 days. And I know that in the middle of June, I'm actually going off the grid. I'm going to go and meditate, deep dive meditation for 10 days, which I totally love, and it's off the grid. There's no wireless, so I'll be making videos in advance for you. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you all, and comment, and I'm here. I'll respond to every comment. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome day, and go meditate.